Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Grant Talks Funny Bits as well. Absolutely. I get asked about certain guests coming back on the show, and there's certain guests that just literally are at the top of people's list. And tonight we have managed to get a fantastic, not just a fantastic, he's just a great guy and a Vegas headliner. In fact, not even just a Vegas headliner, the Vegas headliner in Vegas at this moment in time. He is a great guy. And do you know what? Without further ado, let me please introduce to you the one and only Mr. Hypnosis Unleashed, Kevin Lepine.
Thanks for having me back on. I'm always glad to be here.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you back on. The world has completely turned on its head, spun around in a 360, and it's a completely different world that we live in now since we last spoke. How are you?
Actually doing probably better now than I ever have before. I am very fortunate now. During COVID, I actually was in the hospital for about 3 days. So that part of it wasn't fun. Thankfully, no long-term effects, but honestly, we were able to come back. We were able to reopen in the Fort Queens, which was owned by Binions. They just wanted to move me up into the big room.
Nice.
And it's been amazing. Oh, and please, during this entire thing, if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat. I try to be as open as I mean, Grant knows this. I try to be as open as I can with everything. So if there's questions you have about anything, type them in. We will answer them as best we can.
There we go. Now, guys, I know there's lots of stage hypnotists watching this. Chris Lee's here as well. Chris, great to see you. Jeff Bennick says hi. Jason Nobby Morgan says good evening. Adam Dealis says hello. Natasha Stanley says good evening. And Jason Simmons says hello as well. Guys, this is your opportunity to actually ask the questions of a living, breathing Vegas headlining hypnosis act. Don't be shy. Ask him anything. Within reason.
I'll try and answer anything, but this could get really weird. But also, I mean, let's just go back a second. So I'm fortunate. I am performing in Vegas nightly, but I've also done the corporate gigs, from the low-end local corporate to the high-end corporate. I've gone from local to national. I've gone from Detroit to New Orleans to Vegas. The only thing that I really can't answer questions about is cruise ships, which although, if you don't mind me hijacking for a second, the fact that I don't know about cruise ships is why I'm in Vegas. Many years ago, I'm living in Detroit. It is December in Detroit. It is freezing cold. And I get a call to go on Royal Caribbean. They want me to leave in 2 days to go in and out of Hawaii for 2 weeks in December. I had to say no. They were going to pay me top flight. I had to say no because I had 3 other gigs booked in that time period for agents who had supported me for years.
Yeah.
If I would have taken that cruise ship gig, the odds are all the things that happened next that got me to Vegas would have never happened. Yeah. So minding my business and my loyalty was more important then. And Michael is doing great. I just talked to him early last week. Awesome. And for those of you who don't know who she's talking about, Michael Johns is actually the person responsible for turning me into a Vegas headliner.
Wow. Yep. Michael, again, another genuinely nice guy as well.
Yes.
Wrote me a wonderful skit in my show. And whenever I use it, I always give credit to Michael for that. He's a great guy.
Brilliant comedian. He was a great comedian before he was a great hypnotist.
I think that helps.
Yep. Oh yeah. If you want to improve your hypnosis show, go do comedy open mics.
Yeah.
And the reason is you're going to meet 10 people at a comedy open mic. 6 of them are useless. They're not really doing anything. But 3 of them are going to be pros or semi-pros who have notebooks full of material. And who will become your writing partners, who help you develop the comedy style that fits you. And the 10th person, you don't know if this person is drunk, high, or mentally deficient, but it's like a train wreck just hitting the wall over and over for 5 minutes. And if you don't see that person at the open mic, you just learned something about you.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So going back to your point there about kind of the loyalty to agents that looked after you,
Yes.
that's so important. And I think sometimes without sounding woo woo, the universe has a way of lining stuff up, and if it's right for you, it's right for you, and you don't know at the time. But like you said, if you'd have took that, you'd have not been where you are today. So that's pretty epic.
And when you're working with agents, it does take a while to find ones that are honest.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does help when you check out an agent's website and they say, oh, we've worked with these clients. Call those clients.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, you know what? I was going to use this company to hire some entertainment. Would you recommend them?
Yeah.
You know, honestly, audition an agent in that way. It can be very, very, it can be really good because once you have a couple of good agents, life is so much easier.
Yeah. I found out the hard way, but for me, there's two types of agents. There's venue agents, and then there's act agents. A lot of newbie hypnotists fall foul to venue agents. They've just got to fill that venue with a quota of so many acts through the year. So they don't care what you're doing as long as you're filling that date, which means, and I've done it, I end up performing in a venue where they wanted a Michael Bublé tribute, but they got a comedy hypnotist instead. And sometimes it just means your life is so much harder because of that. So like you said, audition the agents, not the other way around.
Oh God. And a 65-minute corporate gig can feel like 3 days when they put you in the wrong venue. But you know what? I will say this right now. People ask me a lot about how do you get agents? How do you get the right agents? For 20% of one gig, I will tell you right now how to get tens of gigs, if not hundreds of gigs, for 20% of one show.
Yeah.
And Grant, I'm going to kind of talk to you for a minute, just like you're a newbie, because that'll make the most sense for people. So, have you ever worked a corporate event?
Yes.
Have you ever worked for the same company twice?
Yeah.
Okay, so that company likes you and wants to bring you back.
Yes.
Are you the only entertainment that company has ever hired for anything?
No.
So they probably work with a couple of agents to find other stuff, right?
Yep.
So go to that company that you've done 2 shows for and say, hey, who else do you hire entertainment from?
Yeah.
I'm going to call that agent. Do you mind if I use you as a recommendation? Because if you call an agent cold, they don't want to hear from you because you're taking money, you're taking time from them. Time is money.
Yep.
If on the other hand, you go, ABC Corporation told me to call you directly because I've done multiple shows for them. The agent immediately goes, well, if I put you on my roster now, then that means at least I'll make that commission.
Yep.
And now you've got so 2 things you want when you're reaching a new agent is 1, it's always better to use sphere of influence. If I say somebody you know told me to call, you'll take the call. 2, make sure you're ready. Make sure you have an agent-friendly website ready to go. And that's just your website with no contact information, so the agent can use it as a selling tool. But make sure that during your conversation, you can go, oh, yes, feel free to use this website.
Yeah, that's absolute gold is that. Recently, I say recently, probably 6 months ago, exactly the thing happened. I had a venue that I know that is managed by a certain agent who doesn't work me. The venue contacted me direct and said, I would like to book your show. Knowing the situation, I've gone, I would love to work with you direct, but I only work through agents. Then said to them to contact their agent. Then I contacted their agent and said, listen, I've just been contacted by one of your managed venues. I only work through agents. And he's gone, what a coincidence. They've just messaged me now looking for a hypnotist. And I'm like, what a coincidence. And again, so I then got that booking, and then on the back of that, because I've done a good job and literally I've given them free money, that then inspires them to get me more gigs.
So for 20 or 30% of one gig,
exactly,
you just made 4 more gigs off of it.
Exactly.
You'll never get a bigger return on your investment than that. There's no other marketing tool in the world that pays off like that does.
Yeah. But I think, and again, this is just opinion. I think sometimes a lot of newer stage hypnotists or newer, not even newer stage hypnotists, newer businesses sometimes can be quite short-sighted, and they think of the money now, not further down the line. They want the quick returns and not the hard work that's going to pay off down the road.
And honestly, one of the dumbest sentences I've ever heard is one of the best business sentences of all time. Treat your business like it's business.
Yeah.
And it's an important thing to keep in mind. Yes, it's a passion. Yes, it's a love. No, you don't always have to put in 40 hours a week working for yourself. Sometimes you do. And you have to figure out, honestly, what shows are you qualified to do right now?
Yeah.
Are you new in starting? So, the school gigs, the high school gigs are great when you're starting. It's great to get that experience, because no matter how many times you say it in your head, or no matter how many times you practice it in a mirror, saying it live is totally different.
Yeah.
Your tongue gets tied up, your brain goes into knots. I love the school gigs for that. And not just the prom season, not just the graduation season. There are clubs that need money.
Yeah.
A drama club needs money. A National Honor Society needs money. The sports team probably doesn't need money. Find the clubs that need to make some money, do a door split with them. You're not doing this for money. You're doing this to get that experience, just so that your show starts lining up. Because it takes a lot of shows, not for the hypnosis, not for the individual parts of it. What takes a long time to develop is the transitions going in and out.
Yeah.
That's what makes it smooth.
Yeah. That's great advice. Great advice. A question from me to you.
Mm-hmm.
Was Vegas the goal? And at what point did you realize that? And what steps did you take that benefited that? And what mistakes did you make that you kind of think, you know what, if I did that again, I wouldn't do that and that and that, because that did this. I would do this, this, and this.
Okay. So let's talk about the hundreds of mistakes I've made, because that is so much more fun. And then we'll talk about all the transitioning steps. So first of all, I got into performing when I was 16. Nice. I was doing plays in high school, got picked up by an entertainment company. I was Barney at your little brother's birthday. Went from that to clowning because they needed people to do clowning. I wanted more money. Clowning turned into magic. Magic worked well. Magic turned into sideshow, fire eating, straight jackets, glass walking. That brought me into hypnotists. Took a course for hypnosis, and it just built and built and built and built. I'm going to go into way better detail than that, I promise. But let's talk about mistakes. Number one mistake, biggest mistake. If you have to use this sentence, well, I know that person, that agent, that management company has screwed over all these other people, but I know they won't do that to me. They're going to do it to you.
Yep.
Eliminate them as quickly as you can. One of my next problems was not necessarily believing that I could do the things I could do. There were so many shows I knew of in all different aspects that were so polished and so tight and just blended so well. And that wasn't me, and I didn't think I could do that. Well, guess what? You can't. No one can, unless you put in the work to do it.
Yeah.
You want to be smooth, you've got to practice to be smooth. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Oh, I like that.
Once is a mistake, twice is scripting. You can make any mistake once. If you do it again, that's your script and your plan.
Yeah.
You have to really go, if you want to be smooth, if you want to be tight, it takes practice. A friend of mine was in San Francisco, This was just a couple years ago. And there's a comedy open mic night. And there was maybe 30 people in the room. The host said, we need a favor. Everybody, please take your cell phone, put them in your pockets, and just hold your hands up and do this. So everybody did that. And he goes, good. Keep your cell phones in your pocket. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle.
Nice.
At a $5 open mic night.
Nice.
These two came out for 45 minutes because they were practicing new material.
Yeah.
And not only were they trying to practice the material and the punchlines, but they were trying to practice how they were going to get in and out of each joke. And if Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock still know to do that, you're starting off. It's fine to pick places that you can fail like that.
Yeah.
It's because you're not failing if you're using it to grow and learn.
Yeah.
The other thing, I remember all of the crap gigs that I did. There are different, I don't want to say the name of them, but there are booking agents, and I'm sure you have these people as well, where they will find a bar and they'll look at this bar and go, oh, hey, you're not doing anything really on a Thursday night. We're going to bring in a comedian for you. And the headliner gets like $250. And if you're lucky, they will turn off whatever sports game is on the TV while you're performing. But I mean, it's just, as much as I would say avoid those gigs, they have a value because they give you thicker skin.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do like nowadays is once you've gotten yourself smooth enough. So let's just say you do one of those comedy nights for $250 in the bar. And you drove 2 hours each way to get there. There's a bar in your area that isn't doing anything on a Wednesday night. And if you got 50 people in there at $10 a head, you just made $500 and you're building your name.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. All right. Now the steps I used to get to Vegas. Grew up in Detroit. One of the first things I did that helped move me into being a national act was I attended Jeff McBride's Magic and Mystery School the very first time he did it. I was one of his first students in the mystery school. And the reason for that was the performing group in Detroit could teach me a lot. They couldn't teach me how to leave Detroit. They could teach me how to stay in this bubble.
Yeah.
But that bubble wasn't what I wanted. I had the opportunity to move to New Orleans for 6 months to do my hypnosis show. 6 months turned into 5 years. But let's go back on that transition. I just said I got a 6-month offer to move to New Orleans. I want to look at this moment just to explain. Oh, wow, you're getting great people in. Yay, internet.
Just filter those comments.
Yeah. So how did I go from Detroit to New Orleans? One year I went to New Orleans. There was a ghost tour company that one of the tour guides advertised doing magic on the tour as well. So I was curious. So I ended up going on that tour, ended up meeting the person, talking with the person, just socializing with them. Well, just under a year later, I ended back down in New Orleans with a friend of mine. And this time the tour company had been taken over by somebody that was doing a bunch of different stuff with it. At the time I had a promo kit on me because you always carried a promo kit on you. And I'm talking to the owner and he wants to do something different. So he wanted to bring my hypnosis show down there for 6 months. We start talking about it. I agreed to come back about a month later to really look over the situation. I come back down. Everything's right. Everything makes sense. I jumped. I went for it. Not everybody can do that.
Hmm.
I was 25, no kids, not married. If I'm going to make a move, I can make a move. You can stay in your hometown and have one hell of a career.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can network in your hometown. You can be the biggest fish in that pond. You can make 6 figures a year. You can work with other hypnotists in order to alternate, switch off bookings, work with each other. You don't have to leave your hometown. On the other hand, for what I wanted to do, I did.
Yeah.
While I was in New Orleans, I met a whole bunch of other performers. In Detroit, there was a blue collar mentality, even in the entertainment field, to kind of do what other people were doing. New Orleans, I met people who really taught me be unique, be creative, or don't be on stage.
Yeah.
Got to work with Harry Anderson. And I wish I would have been 10 years wiser when I met Harry. I really do. I could have learned even more than he taught me. And this guy was extremely patient with a kid with more ego and attitude than brains at the time.
Yeah.
I can't thank him enough. But also, one of the things I started doing was, besides just my show, I started doing some of the ghost tours. And the reason I started doing the ghost tours was there's no props. It's you, it's 27 people, it's the city of New Orleans. If they like you, they follow you. If they don't like you, you take a left, they keep going straight. And you had to learn how to keep all their attention. And it taught me one important performing lesson. So I've got, say, 25 people on the tour. There's a couple of groups of 3. In each of those group of 3, there is one person who really wanted to be on the tour and 2 others who wanted to be on Bourbon Street. I didn't have to entertain the person who wanted to be on the tour. He's there. I had to figure out how to entertain the 2 people who weren't there and keep their attention. And that taught me a lot about performing. Also, while I was there, I put together a comedy circus sideshow. We toured colleges. And it was funny because with the circus sideshow, I booked us on our first few colleges. And I tried to call agents. Agents didn't want to work with us because every agent said the same thing. There's nothing like you in the college market. This will never work. Finally, after calling dozens of agents, I called an agent and the agent went, there's nothing like you in the college market. There's nothing like you in the college market. Send me more info.
Yeah.
I got it ready to go right then and there. And then what we were doing is we would do the comedy circus sideshow and the hypnosis show because you're on the road, make every bit of money you can make. And that taught me a lot about touring, a lot about how to budget a tour, how to keep everything together, how to do what you need to do. Katrina kicked me out of New Orleans, sent me back to Detroit. I got stupid lucky in Detroit. Luck, in my mind, I'm very thankful. Thank you, God, for it all. Luck is a skill. I've never been truly lucky because never once has somebody walked up to me and gone, hi, I'm looking for somebody who wants to be a hypnotist. Do you know anyone? At a gig, I meet somebody. They have a company. They do trade shows. For some reason, what I'm about to describe confuses a lot of people. So, Grant, your company wants to display at a bunch of trade shows, okay? You now have ABC Corporation, and ABC Corporation wants to be at these. There's like 70 trade shows all across the continent that fits what you do. Booth space can be 2,500, can be $4,000, $5,000, 10. Some of these conventions, it's 20 grand to get a booth. Now, you look at what you are currently getting for pricing. But let's just say that your company It's $5,000 to get a booth at Super Convention. Okay. I called Super Convention. It was the one thing I may have said that may have been misleading. Hello, Super Convention. My hypnosis show costs $10,000. I will give it to you for free. I will give you, Super Convention, a free show. All I want in exchange is a free booth for my sponsor. Now, they can always find more booth space. They can find 10 by 10 square feet for you.
Yeah.
So they went, okay, we get a free show. Here's a booth for your sponsor. You were going to spend $5,000 to be there. I tell you, now it only costs you $4,000, and you're the sponsor of the evening entertainment. You just saved 20%. I made $4,000. The convention gets a free show. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
And because of that, it really quickly, for my corporate sponsor, went from a bunch of local straight shows, a bunch of local state shows, to the regional shows, to the national shows, to worldwide shows. They got a lot for this, because if you run a state show, you know the person who runs the regional show. The regional show knows the person who runs the national show. They know the ones who do the, and as long as you're doing a show that exceeds expectations, you can do that.
Yeah.
Let's examine this though, as hypnotists. If you exceed expectations, you get more bookings.
Yeah.
How many of your clients really know what the hell a hypnosis show is?
True.
Very few. As a hypnotist, you have the ability to set the expectations.
Yeah.
So now you can set the expectations you need to exceed. How great is this? You can bury that bar as low in the dirt as you need to bury to go over it.
Yeah.
But you have that ability so that your client walks out going, we were supposed to get 1 through 5. He gave us 1 to 10.
Yeah.
This was awesome. It also taught me one other really important lesson through this whole thing. An agent friend of mine did this for me once, and I owe him most of my career. I'm working on a new demo. Agent friend of mine says, come into the office. He pulls out a stack of demos. At the time, they were VHS.
Yeah.
Shut up, world. So he says, as soon as you're done watching these, call me from the conference room. So I watch all the videos, take some notes. I call him. He comes into the conference room with 2 more tapes. Puts in a tape and he says, now you see this performer? They're the best. You'll never be better than him. You may be as good one day, but you'll never be better. And he points out why. And he goes, but this guy shows up late. He irritates my customers. He pisses off people at the venue. We will never use him. Puts in another tape. He goes, now this guy's mediocre. You're better than him already. He shows up early. He's friendly to all of my clients. Everybody at the gig likes him. We use him all the time. If you have the best show and you are the easiest to work with, you will always have work. Now, being easy doesn't mean letting people walk all over you, but it means not having a prima donna attitude. You're going in there to work, be professional. Be professional from the moment you can be seen at the venue, so that's pulling in, to the moment you leave. From the moment you can be seen by a client to the moment they can't see you anymore, you are on the clock. Never forget that.
Yeah.
And the other mistake I watched people make, once you start getting to that level, once you start working with people who understand what billionaires are. Eugene Berger gave me this advice. He said, be humble and charming. And I quickly realized charming was a very minor word. Be humble. If you did a great show on stage and they want to talk to you, you cannot impress them as much as you did on stage. Just be a regular person. Listen to their stories. Share. You're not there to impress them when they want to talk to you. Harry Anderson told me if after a show, everybody wants to take you home for dinner to meet their family, that's when you win. You're not going to be able to impress a billionaire by all these extravagant things you've done.
Yeah.
Because compared to that billionaire, you ain't done nothing.
Yeah.
Be genuine. That's going to carry you further than anything else. I watched a business meeting once that I had put together for another performer. Performer does the show. There's execs watching the show. The execs love it. It kills. We go to dinner. Every exec is leaning in and they are right here. By the end of dinner, every exec is doing this. He ruined it. He wouldn't stop trying to show these people up. And these people went, I don't want to work with this person. So in Detroit, I really learned these things as I'm doing these bigger corporate gigs. So I've got a bunch of shows lined up in Vegas. I've got the ability to come out here for 6 months because I convinced my corporate sponsor it is way better for me to just be out here than for you to pay for all these air flights.
Yeah.
So I have a moment. And I really hope everybody is able to learn from this moment. I was walking out of a restaurant that a guy was walking into. He's wearing a Hypnosis Unleashed t-shirt. I went, oh, that's a great show. Have you seen it? And he goes, kind of. That's how I met Terry Stokes Jr.
Nice.
At the time, Terry Stokes and Michael Johns had the show. So we start talking a little bit about hypnosis. Junior invites me to the show one night. I go. Junior and I just start hanging out because he had a lot of questions for what I was doing corporate. And I had a lot of questions for what he was doing. And so we're talking, we're hanging out. And then one night, Terry Stokes Sr. is doing the show. And they're having a slow night. Junior calls me and said, hey, can you get some friends together and come to the show? I'll comp you. Yeah, sure. Terry brought me on stage that night, as Terry would do, and let me do 5 minutes, which is something I have really tried to also carry on. In fact, Rob Temple was just at the show.
I was just about to say, yeah, you just recently did it with Rob, which was pretty cool.
Yep. So Terry gives me this moment, and I'm like on cloud nine. And Terry tells me I'm welcome to come back anytime. I said, do you mean that? He goes, yeah. Come back tomorrow? Sure. I came back for 5 days in a row. Each day, Terry put me on stage. And at the end of 5 days, Terry went, you can really do this stuff, huh? I said, yes, sir. So you should stick around if you want. I had, at that point, over 15 years experience. And I became an intern.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sat people. I took tickets. I was an assistant. I was whatever I needed to be in exchange for those 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I helped them redo some of their promos, some of their marketing. I helped them with that. Whatever needed to be done, I did. And then at one point, so it was Terry and Michael Johns. So Terry and Michael Johns look at me and go, so what exactly do you want for all of this? And after a few months, I went, I want what you're not using. I want your dark day. And they went, all right, we'll talk about it. And so after a couple of weeks of talking about it, we are supposed to have a meeting on Thursday. I show up Wednesday. There's Terry and Michael talking about something. Michael turns to me and goes, screw it. You want Thursdays? You start in 2 weeks. Great meeting. Let's talk about everything I just said.
Well, yeah, let me,
This
I
gets
just want to
lost.
say exactly that, what you said, 15 years experience, and then being humble and kind of saying, these people are where I want to be. This is what I want to learn from, this is what I want to do. I think that's, for me, again, just Grant's opinion, that's the issue with a lot of stage hypnotists. Guys get 3 years in and think they know everything and can't learn everything else. And then, I've had guys come to my show and start telling me, and I'm kind of like, yeah.
Okay, so this is it. This is what I'm talking about. I had one hypnotist. This was when we were at Binions. You saw the show at Binions.
Yeah, great
And
show.
there's a little merch case outside the show where we would sell merch. I had a guy who was not at the show. He was just walking by the showroom, walks up right up to me and goes, "When you guys start looking for a real hypnotist, give me a call." Hands me his card and walks off.
Awesome.
I once asked Michael, and understand that Michael Johns, mentor, friend, big brother, stood up in my wedding. I would not be a tenth of what I am had he not been there. Because what would eventually happen is Terry decided to retire from Vegas. The Harmon Theater closed. Michael decided to retire from Vegas as well. He made me the offer to carry the name forward and has always been an angel on my shoulder to give me advice.
Awesome.
But at one point, I had to ask him the most important question I could ask. Why me? Hundreds of hypnotists walk through that door. Why me? And what Michael said was, I was the first hypnotist to walk through that door who wanted to learn, not to tell them what I knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will have many opportunities to meet amazing mentors. There will be hypnosis mentors, there will be business mentors, there will be comedy mentors. You will lose every one of those opportunities the minute you decide to talk instead of listen.
Yeah. That there is the absolute, when we talk about golden nuggets on the show, that there is an absolute, that is a doozy. That is a golden nugget.
And it's when you go to other hypnosis shows, support hypnosis shows. Magic outsells hypnosis time and time again.
Yeah.
And people ask why I am right now the only hypnosis show in Vegas. Why? And even when there were three of us, when it was me, when it was Savard and Cools.
Yeah.
Why are there only three of us and 25 magic shows? Magicians go and support every magic show.
Yeah.
When Magic Live's in town, every magic show is full because they are all going to support and watch other performers.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen as much in the hypnosis world. It really doesn't, and it should. Go out, support other shows. When you support other shows, they will support you.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, there was one hypnosis trainer that Grant, I swear to you, they thought it was a good idea to hypnotize customers who were in line waiting to get into my showroom. This is a trainer with their students holding tickets for my show, walking up to people going, "Oh, we're all hypnotists too. You want to see what hypnosis feels like?"
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be that person.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, again, I think when sometimes guys are new, they just want to be out there doing stuff and don't understand sometimes that, you know, you don't eat someone's breakfast that someone else
Yeah,
has
and I mean,
cooked.
I will always, you know, I mention when hypnotists are in the audience, when I have the ability, I bring them up on stage to do stuff. I try, and I have always, whenever any group of students, anyone else, I'll always do a Q&A after my show for them.
Oh,
Always.
I can absolutely attest to that. When we first met, I remember coming seeing your show, and afterwards we talked for a very long time about shows, about production. You gave me some great tips and advice as well. Very, very giving of value, of your valuable time as well, not just of the information and everything. So if
But
you are in Vegas, do
that's
check them
how
out.
I grew, was people were kind enough to answer questions for me. And once again, if anybody else I know I've shot through a whole lot of stuff. So if
Yeah, some
anybody
great stuff.
besides people offering free girls in my city has questions,
Yeah.
please feel free, ask away.
Yeah,
I know
guys.
I've
Yeah.
covered a lot of weird ground in there.
No, do you know what? There's some great content there as well. And again, it's especially that on that journey and the way of doing it the right way, not trying to outshine people to get to the top, but by actually, and it's so important, and we mentioned it earlier about doing the work to get to the top, learning.
Let's talk about that for a second, actually. One thing I want to tell you about the perceived top. Okay. So, first of all, I don't believe there are levels.
Hmm.
I don't believe there's any difference between what I'm doing and what the person doing the high school shows are doing.
Yeah.
There's a different business model, but I don't think anyone is above the other.
Hmm.
But what I will tell you is this: when you are at the bottom of an area of performing, when you are first starting somewhere, everybody's going to stab each other in the back over a nickel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's disgusting and it's hard. I will answer that question in a second, Michael. I've got a few of them. When you want to be the best in whatever market you're in, there is always room at the top of that market for people who want to be the best. There is no market that is overflooded with the best.
Hmm.
And look at those people. Look at those people who are having those great shows. Don't ever put a target on their back. You stab somebody in the back, you're done.
Yeah.
Reach out to those people and go, hey, I'm curious. How do you do this? You'll get some great answers. Figure out what you do, what you need to do to be as good or better.
Yeah.
Use it as a goal to step up with, and you will find out that the people at the top of any market are always glad to see another person who wants to be great. Because what happens is people at the bottom of that market are usually destroying that market because they don't know what they're doing and they're stabbing each other in the back over a nickel.
Yeah.
There's
And
always
quality,
more room at the top.
yeah. Quality shows create more quality shows. The more
Yes.
people see a good hypnosis show, the more it becomes a viable option for them. So
Yep.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what is the weirdest ab reaction I have had in a show? There have been a few of them. I will. Okay. So, as soon as you see the start of an ab reaction, just wake the person up and get rid of them as quickly as you
Yeah.
can. When I see somebody going down a weird road, I will give them maybe 2 opportunities to get on the road I need them.
Yeah.
If they're not going to get on that road I need them, I will wake them up and remove them from the stage for their safety as well as the safety of every other volunteer.
Yeah.
There was a woman I had hysterical laughter. Not the funny laughter, I mean the scary laughter.
Yeah.
it takes me 2 or 3 minutes on stage, which feels like about 4 days, to wake her up enough to send her back down to her boyfriend, where I make sure the bartenders, sends her a Diet Coke, anything with caffeine.
Yeah.
After the show, I still have to wake her up again just to make sure. I wake her up with a suggestion that she's going to feel good, she's going to feel happy, and she does. And as soon as I do that, she goes, God, this was so much better. Last time I was hypnotized, the guy actually had to smack me to wake me up, which, The reason I bring this up is one of the weirdest ab reactions, Michael, is what happened next. Her boyfriend says, man, you treated my girl really well. I owe you. Give me a call if you ever need. And he hands me his card. It's a Blackwater card. The paramilitary mercenary group that the U.S. uses in Iran and Afghanistan. Had I not treated his girl well, we would not be having this conversation. The desert is vast and shovels are cheap. No one would have heard of me after that night.
That's pretty cool.
Now, let me talk about one of my most important ab reactions, though. Doing a corporate event. Woman starts crying. I can't get her to stop crying. I eventually asked her one question. I said, do you want to cry? She went, yes. Okay. For the next few minutes, you're going to be over here. You're going to be allowed to cry. After that, I'm going to put you back to sleep and you're going to relax and we'll talk about it after. She does that. I do the next skit. Everybody's laughing. I put her under. I almost got a standing ovation pretty much right there because it's a corporate event. Just about everybody in that room knew her. I didn't. After the event, she wanted to talk to me. The reason she wanted to cry was she had been her husband's caregiver in the hospital. He had gotten into a horrible motorcycle accident, had died. This was her first time out in public.
Oh.
And as she told me, this was the first time I had the ability to cry. I've had to be strong. I've had to bottle it all up.
Yeah.
You don't know why somebody's having that reaction. If they're having an immediate dangerous one, wake them up. Get them off your stage. Talk to them after. Don't try and treat anything. Don't try and deal with anything while the lights are on you. Move it as quickly as you can. But do it kindly and with respect.
Yeah.
And you're going to win.
Yeah. That kindness and respect. Yeah, absolutely. I think in the early days, I had a bloke come up to me once after a show and made some comment. And it was kind of along the same lines. It was like, oh, the woman that was the star says you could have had her doing anything. And it was a big lad. And he's like, that's my mother. He says, I'm so glad you didn't. And it stuck with me. And so I always kind of look at every female on my stage as being somebody's wife, daughter, or mother, and how I would react if that was a family member. I can still have fun with them, but kindness and respect. I like that.
2 ways of looking at that. The first way is if it was your mother, your sister, your brother, your daughter, your dad, or God forbid, if it was you in that chair, how would you feel about it? Now I'm going to talk about Anthony Cools for a second. Because Anthony did a far more risque show than I do. But Anthony made it clear 6 times before he asked for volunteers. He made it clear 6 times exactly what you would be doing up there. So was his show risque? Yes. But you knew exactly what you were getting into.
Yeah.
The other thing that I always like to point out, never ever forget what I'm about to tell you. The audience doesn't know all of your volunteers. But the audience all knows one important thing about your volunteers. Oh, crap, that could have been me.
Yeah.
If your volunteers are having fun, people will want to come back and have fun.
Yeah.
If your volunteers are being made into victims, nobody's going to want to come back and be a victim.
Yep.
There was another hypnotist who was asking for advice online, and he was wondering why he couldn't get more high school shows. The guy's cover picture on his Facebook page was, a bunch of people in chairs, one of which was a young woman, possibly a girl. Hey, Rob. One of them was a young woman, possibly a girl, possibly under 18. Short skirt, legs spread. You could clearly see her underwear.
Yeah.
And I made this real clear. I'm like, first of all, if you want more high school geeks, get rid of that picture. He goes, no, it's fine. Like, no, it's not fine.
No.
And he's defending why this is a good idea. And I eventually went, well, you said you have daughters, right? He said, yeah. So if that was your daughter, would you want that picture on the internet? And he said, my daughter would be smart enough not to volunteer for a show like mine.
Wow.
I'm like, if you have that little respect for your show and your volunteers, that you think smart people won't do it, you're never, ever going to succeed. Yeah, understand, these people took time out of their day to make your job possible.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's tough for shows. Sometimes it does feel like you're doing dental work. But understand that every person on that stage gave you the gift of their time. Treat them well.
Yeah, it's the respect there. Like you said earlier about kind of under promising, over delivering. You've got to. They're investing their time with you. They can never get that back. It's not even about the ticket price. Make sure that they enjoy it as well.
Yep.
So yeah.
I also saw one hypnotist make a horrible, and I think Rob and I talked about this one actually, is the hypnotist who explains they're going to do a very PG show. Don't worry, it's going to be PG and safe. And then as soon as people are under, they go, all right, screw that. We're going to do, and now and you might think it's funny, but it's not, because these people didn't agree to that.
Yeah.
It's going to come back on you.
Yeah.
If you promise you're doing a PG show, you can do a great, funny PG show. I still have a corporate gig I do. You can do PG-13. It can be hilarious.
Yeah.
If you're going to do an adult show, make it clear you're doing an adult show.
Yeah. And I think especially in the UK, that's what we suffered from. It's not that there's anything wrong in adult shows. It's we had, and this is no slating anybody, we did have guys that weren't necessarily entertaining that would then be shocking in order to get a reaction from the audience. Rather than running an adult show that is funny, they would just use that same cookie cutter style show for everything.
So this will also talk about a lot of things that we've talked about here. I firmly believe that the most important moment you're going to write in your show is what you want people talking about on the car ride home.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thought, because you're like, well, I can't determine what they're going to talk about. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that there is a theme and a moment in your show that sums up those themes that people are going to talk about.
Yeah.
And if you have
the takeaway.
Yep. And that takeaway, people don't process an event until they've told it to someone else.
Yeah.
You can direct what they're going to tell other people. And if whatever the theme of your show is also ties into one or two moments where people in the audience go, I wish that was me.
Yeah.
I wish I was experiencing that.
Yeah.
People are going to be thrilled to come back. If, on the other hand, their only reaction is, oh my God, I'm so glad you didn't volunteer, honey.
Yeah.
And it destroys venues for other performers as well, because you don't know why you were booked into that venue in the first place always. You don't know what the event was. You don't know what the situation was. Especially if there's a reason a client tells you this is a PG show, you do a PG show.
Yeah, spot on. And yeah, great, so many great points in this. Thank you for this. But yeah, exactly what you said then about, I think a lot of guys, because the way they've learned hypnosis is just by kind of copying somebody else's material. They don't understand the process of writing a show. I think, by writing a show, you know the highs, the lows, you know the takeaways. Rob runs a very successful theatre tour here in the UK. And again, it's a produced show. So having that knowledge gives you that kind of that opportunity to think about the experience of the audience, not just a case of, can I get through the show and can I just get paid, which is what a lot of guys just go through, really. So, yeah.
Teller from Penn and Teller has gone on record many, many times saying this: I would rather you break into my house and steal my television than to steal my jokes.
Yeah.
Because it didn't take me 6 months to earn a TV. It took me 6 months to turn that joke into something that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, so in the beginning, when you start, you're going to copy 2 or 3 performers. You have no choice. Nobody starts off original.
No.
You're gonna copy things from people. Get rid of that as quickly as you can. Imitation is not the sincerest form of flattery. Imitation is the lowest form of thievery.
Yeah.
But figure out what you like in that moment and figure out how to make it your own. On the count of 3, you will fill in the blank. I don't care what that blank is. You can fill it in with anything. And I promise you, I can probably find a version of it in Orman McGill's book. On the other hand, White Castle, McDonald's, Applebee's, TGI Fridays, Ruth Chris all make a hamburger. But you'll never confuse one of those hamburgers for one of the others. It's not the recipe, it's the cook. The more you're up there on stage, and that's why I recommend the comedy open mic nights, the more you're learning about yourself, the more that you're writing with some other comics who can help you write in your voice, the more that you're developing you. If you want to make a lot of money in this profession, figure out a way that people don't want to book a hypnotist. They need to book you. I don't want a hypnotist. I want Grant. I don't want a hypnotist. I want Rob.
Yeah.
That's when you start making money. That's when you start developing a brand. And that brand, like I said, if you just want to be in your metropolitan area or, a max of 4 hours from your house, you can make a great 6-figure living doing that when everybody wants you.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome advice there, Kevin. Thank you very much. We're almost out of time now again, this has been amazing. And guys, please do make sure you check out Kevin's socials. You probably already know about his socials. I'm going to put a quick link to his website on the screen as well. Do check out that website.
And if you had a question that you didn't want to ask or you didn't think it was appropriate to ask, message me on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll get back to you. It might take me a day or two sometimes. I always respond when I can. I'll answer whatever I can.
Awesome. And thank you as well for, again, spending the time on here as well.
Always.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure as always. And I know very much, a much requested guest to have back on as well. I've got to get off now. It's now 9 p.m. here in the UK, which for me is gym time now.
Perfect. Go get in shape.
But I'm trying my best. Michael Brody says thank you very much.
My pleasure.
My love to your wife. Good luck with the shows. And hopefully I shall be over there soon as well.
Perfect.
I'll treat you to a coffee.
Sounds perfect. I'll see you then.
There we go. Fantastic. Guys, take care. Please do check out his socials. If you've enjoyed this, please put a applause emoji in the comments section. And don't forget, this is your opportunity. Drop Kevin a message. Ask him those questions. It's not often you get chances like this. Kevin, thank you very much for sharing so many golden nuggets. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. See you guys later. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.